starting this. And, okay, I believe we're now recording.
Okay.
I am the Velvet Fist.
I'm Professor Ramble.
And this is the
Velvet Ramble.
podcast.
Velvet Ramble.
And I've got to work on that whole only playing
Well,
that
it's the first time.
once thing. Yeah.
That's cool.
We'll see how it goes. Anyway, so this is the Velvet Ramble podcast.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to start off on a bit of a different note because I want to do this thing in two different parts. And the first part is that I actually saw a movie that is in the theaters at the current moment and relatively new, and then I got Professor Ramble to see the same film, and so we're going to talk about it, and that film is Get Out, and because the conversation is not necessarily going to be spoiler avoidant, if you have not yet seen the movie, then you might not want to listen to this until after you've seen the movie, or if you don't care to see the movie, then feel free to listen, or if you feel like, hey, I can hear the details of a movie and it won't be spoilerific for me because I am spoiler proof, then also feel free to listen. What we're saying is this will be a conversation that will not necessarily avoid spoilers. So if you are spoiler
okay.
resistant, then you should not listen.
Okay.
All right. Is that?
Yeah, I think they get it.
All right. So Get Out is a film. If you haven't heard of it, it's from the mind of Jordan Peele.
That's a tall one, right?
It's the short fat one.
He's not fat.
It's the short chubby one.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, but okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. So it's Keegan-Michael Key is the tall, fairer-skinned, balder.
Yeah. Yeah. He is balder.
He's probably shaved.
Luther, the anger management translator.
Yeah. And so then that makes Jordan Peele the guy, the shorter, darker, rounder fellow who played Obama.
Right.
Yes. So he has created a horror film, yes, called Get Out, and it's I found out about this film last year because one of my friends who the minute she saw the trailer posted it on my Facebook timeline and was like, do you want to see this? And then I said yes because it after watching the trailer it completely played into some of my paranoid fears, and so then
okay, now
2 months in advance she put the calendar invite on my.
Because of the nature of the film, I have to ask, what was the race of your friend?
Black.
Okay. Cool.
Yes. It should be noted, of course, that Key and Peele, and most relevantly Jordan Peele, is also black, but he is married to a white woman. And
yeah, he's mixed.
Yes, he's mixed.
They're both mixed.
But you wouldn't know that to look at them.
Yeah. I guess it's hard. I see. That's I'm only stopping these things because race is quite a large part of the film. Now, and you say that about them, but I think that's do you because especially with the tall one.
The tall one is you might guess, but with Jordan Peele, I would never have thought he was mixed.
I would because he's relatively light skinned. That's what I mean. I mean, I'm just
the shorter one.
Absolutely.
Relative to what?
Just to again, see that's the thing in America. If you're considered to be black. They're considered to be a part of black culture because one of their parents is black. Though they themselves have questioned that because they said that they're half of people this thing. But when I look at the one, it was obvious to me from the beginning that he was mixed. He's not many. And actually, ironically, because of his skin color, I assumed that he was mixed at some point because he's not 100%. I don't know how else to put it. He's obviously has a black parent, but I would have been surprised to find out that both of his parents were black. So
I would not have been surprised by that.
Yeah.
Just like Obama doesn't look like quote unquote mixed to me. I would, if I didn't know that he was mixed, I wouldn't necessarily have guessed it.
Okay.
What?
Yeah. No, I'm gonna say no. I think differently, but that's a minor point. So go on.
Right. Okay. So I'm just So anyway, he's made this film, and the film is now out, and I believe it's doing well, which makes me very happy because it had a tiny little budget, and it's now, definitely made its money back. And
See, I didn't realize that they hadn't directed Keanu because they both were in a different film called Keanu, about which I also, ironically, though it didn't get good reviews, I happen to like Keanu, even though I've never seen it the whole thing from beginning to end. But because of HBO, so I always catch it midway. So I've seen the end multiple times. I've seen different parts of the middle, and I like it. Because it follows a comedy. So, but I must have misread that one of them directed it, but I guess they didn't.
Did they write it?
I'm not even sure about. I'm not even going to claim that because so much has been made of this is his directorial debut, which is this Get Off. So when I heard
Get
that,
Out.
Sorry, Get Out. So interesting, but yeah, wait, go on.
Well, I don't remember what I was saying now.
You were saying that, what do you call it? That you stopped. Your friend had called you up to see the film, and you're glad the film is doing well because it had a short little budget.
Well, I mean, I'm glad it's doing well. Well, I'm glad it's doing well for a number of reasons. I mean, frankly, I'm glad it's doing well just because I feel like there have been more lately. I feel like I've seen more quirky Black films doing well in theaters, and that makes me happy, as opposed to just like, well, the regular Black films that you used to see.
Yeah.
And then, well, I don't even want to say that because I'm sure there have always been quirky Black films, but they didn't always achieve mainstream success in the way that I feel like I've seen more quirky Black films achieving mainstream success now.
Right.
So I'm just happy to see that because I don't know. Well, on a personal level, it just makes me happy to see. So anyway, I saw the film and it was. I ended up seeing it twice because the first time I saw it, it was on Monday afternoon, so we were basically sitting in a mostly empty theater. And after I saw the film, I read this article about it, a dialogue between two guys who were just talking about it. And as I read through their piece, which was very spoilerific, I think it was on Medium.com. It was. Oh, I thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was gonna reply to parts of it, but I didn't get around to doing it. I did read through. It. Yes.
Yeah. Reading it gave me the feeling. Well, for the first thing I thought was, oh, a lot of people are saying about this film that they were happy that there was so much like comedy to leaven all the scares, and I was like, what? Comedy? I don't quite recall that. Maybe I was sitting in the wrong theater because
the way it ended, that was pure comedy.
Well, yeah, but like there wasn't so much comedy for to leaven. It was like a lot of horrible stuff, with a little bit of comedy. Not like I thought. So I thought maybe if I see it in a theater with more people in it, that it would be more like, oh, maybe other people will laugh, and then I'll get to see like where they're seeing the comic moments. And then also just reading that article made me think that maybe I should watch it again and see if there were any moments of nuance that I'd missed. So that's why I ended up seeing it twice. Why did you agree to see it?
Well, I had heard about it, and I heard about it as a controversial film, in the sense that especially in the current one, that people were protesting it from different angles. There was a lot of, I would say, white people who didn't like the way white people were portrayed in the movie and were presented as, this is that if the movie had been flipped around, they were doing the reversal thing where they were saying that if this movie had been a white person about black people, it would be racist, and so there was some idiot. Yeah, that happens nowadays, and then the topic of the movie, you're right. Well, I will confess going into this that I have a prejudice about let's say black movies that perhaps I should admit to in the beginning, because I don't like a lot of what I call contemporary black movies because they all seem to be about the same thing. They're about race relations. Period. They're about civil rights heroes like Martin Luther King, which not that we shouldn't have those movies. But I just, that's the only story that is told. There's no, you can't tell any story about the black experience without mentioning white people. Then, where the science fiction movies, where the adventure stories that black people participated in, that white people were not involved in at all. There's no movie about George Washington Carver, for example, that I've ever seen. And there's plus there are tons of stories about Africa. This thing. There are stories. The Tuskegee Airmen, for example, is a whole squadron of.
It's not about Africa, though.
No. I'm saying that these are topics. I've gone from. I'm saying I consider myself to be African American. So in America, they make movies about other countries all the time. Rome, Rome, China, all these movies, because of America's amalgamation of all these cultures, and but whenever we think of a black film, it usually is about. I'm not saying all, but it usually is about one particular topic. So I went into the movie with that in mind, and this movie is very much that. But I think they did a very good job of it. One final point on this is about the comedy that I also find, I did find it quite funny. I mean, I think that was part of the, especially when I'm not going to try to avoid giving spoilers, so I'll have to at times speak to Velvet about for the scenes that we both have seen.
I mean, you're free to speak freely.
You just said we don't want to give spoilers.
No, I said anyone who doesn't want to hear spoilers should not listen.
Oh, okay. Then the beginning of the movie where the guy's walking down, and then he's talking, which it is a horror scene because he gets kidnapped. But what he's talking about it before he gets kidnapped, there's a scene of a black man walking alone in a quote an obviously white suburb, and then he starts to express fear about this aspect, and then a car circles and comes back and eventually ends up kidnapping him. And before he kidnaps him, he's saying, "Oh." He's saying things like, I don't want to get any nonsense about in this white neighborhood because that's what they do. That's what they do to you. They'll do some nonsense here. They'll accuse you of rape or something, or they'll shoot you, whatever. And then ironically he does in fact get kidnapped. In a very horrorous way.
Yeah.
So, right.
Yeah. Actually, yeah. So that it's funny that you call it a white suburb because I feel like I don't know.
So it was supposed to, I mean, that was his because he kept saying that. He said, "Have me out." Remember, he started walking. "Have me out here in the boondocks."
Yeah. But it's like, okay, but for me, that's me. Like, so I'm in Palo Alto right now. I'm sitting in, but I'm in Palo Alto. That's like closer to like civilization. For me, that guy was basically walking around in like Los Altos Hills.
But do you see? And that's another thing because I would speak for myself. My experience, black experience in America, might be different from the majority. Because, for example, I would not have immediately assumed that was. I would assume that was a neighborhood. That's a neighborhood.
You wouldn't have assumed it was a well-off neighborhood.
It was just whether it was or not. I would have felt nothing. I would not have been immediately scared walking around in it. I would have just. I walk around neighborhoods like that all the time. I live in neighborhoods like that all the time, and I don't immediately assume that if walking in a neighborhood like that I don't. I really feel uncomfortable, and by the way, I would like to live in a neighborhood like that. I don't. Ironically, I would feel a little bit more. Again, I have to be honest, more uncomfortable walking in a neighborhood that might be more traditionally African American, for example.
Well, for me, it's more like it's as I said. For me, walking around a neighborhood like that isn't necessarily creepy because it's full of white people. Mm-hmm. It's creepy because it's usually empty streets.
Yes.
Not really any sidewalks, hardly any streetlights, and I never know where I'm going.
Right. And for me, you are a lady.
So for me, it's creepy just because it's empty, it's dark,
yes.
and why doesn't Greenleaf Lane interact with Greenleaf?
It was because they remember he said they put two streets that were named Greenleaf Lane, Greenleaf Road, two blocks away from each other.
I know, and what is up with that? And frankly, it's the same problem when I go to Oakland. Why is there a 24th Street and a 24th Avenue? Like, how the bleep am I supposed to figure out which direction I'm supposed to be heading in?
Right.
I mean, geez. Anyway, so.
But see, the thing is, would you let's say you're walking around the neighborhood. And you're armed. Let's say you were armed with your mace, as I always tell you to be, whatever. So therefore, a large part, at least we can fantasize about a large part of the inherent dangers of that being gone. Would you have felt uncomfortable in the sense that he was feeling uncomfortable? If a car passed you, I don't think you would have immediately been worried about it. You would have just kept walking.
I wouldn't have immediately been worried about a car passing me, but that car didn't just pass him. That car, passed him, and then he turned around and started to walk away, and that car stopped. Well, and that is when,
no, it came out to stop behind him, which was weird. Now that
is weird.
That would have bothered me. That would have bothered me. But he immediately, when the car came up, he immediately noticed it, and it was but it doesn't matter. The point of the scene was that was the point of the scene, that he was a black man walking in a quote white neighborhood, and so he was worried about getting something happening to him, and something did happen to him. Mm-hmm. So so then the movie continued. Go on.
So then the movie continued. Gosh. Okay. So then we get to meet our protagonist, who's played by
Go on.
a British actor, actually, a British Ugandan, I think.
Where is that? See, I've seen that guy. You know, he was in an episode of Black Mirror, but I know I've seen him somewhere else before in a longer, either in a movie or in a long. We don't have to look it up now.
You know, I honestly haven't seen him in anything before, so I can't answer that question.
Okay, let's go.
But I did look him. I did look up his IMDb bio. So he's like this 26-year-old guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think first generation Ugandan British or something.
Okay, I like him. He's a good actor.
He was in Sicario, if you've seen that.
Yes.
Okay, I have not seen
That's
that,
where I've
so.
seen him before. That's the movie. Yes, he was. Yes, Sicario, and he was great in that movie too. I liked him. In that.
I have not seen that.
Okay.
In fact, I haven't seen any of the people. Well, I mean, except for the parents, but the grown-ups, let's say. But for the young people in this film, the main characters, I haven't seen.
Yeah, I've seen the girl somewhere before.
The girl, she's on a show called Girls, created by Lena Dunham. It's on HBO.
Never seen that one.
So you may have seen commercials for it.
Yeah.
And that's also Brian Williams' daughter.
Who's Brian? Which the
singer?
singer?
No, the newscaster.
That's his daughter?
Uh-huh.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And I've never seen her in anything before, but in this movie I did learn that she has a voice that to me, for some reason, is a bit like nails grating on a chalkboard. I don't know why her voice annoyed me so much.
Okay.
But
okay.
I was actually annoyed by a lot about her, just her, her hair.
She was wait. What's wrong with her hair?
I just didn't like it. It was too much. When she pulled it back at the end of the movie, then she looked a lot better. But when she had the bangs and her hair was all shaggy, I was just like, no.
That was okay.
It's just styling choices. It's kind of weird. Like I feel like there's some actresses or maybe some characters where when they're behaving in a certain way, like for example, there's a Tyler Perry show called The Haves and the Have-Nots or something like that. There's a girl on the show, one of the I think she's been killed off since then, but she was playing a certain kind of character in the beginning of the show, very innocent and pure and sweet, and then she got raped and then she went crazy, but then I noticed her acting got a lot better when she stopped trying to be the pure innocent sweet girl and started becoming a little bit meaner and more horrible.
Like normal people.
Yeah, so I find that with the Allison Williams character, Rose, in the beginning of the film when she's playing her good girlfriend self.
Well, see that I was now though I don't know if the guy thing I didn't know any of the looks of it, but she was extremely annoying in a very particular way, especially considering this film.
Okay,
go on.
So I feel like we should back up now because she was annoying. So yeah, so that was just her styling. I found her styling like when her true character came out, her styling for me got a lot seemed a lot more natural. But she was also I know that some people. As I read responses to this movie, some people were like, "Oh my gosh, I really tried to hold on. Like the minute I really tried to. Her mom did something like she didn't know what she was doing. She was completely innocent, and I was just like, I didn't have that because her behavior even before it was revealed what the twist was very manipulative. I thought.
Yes, manipulative. Well, but very much manipulative. Like. I'll put it like this: I found her parents less annoying, even though her parents were supposed to be cluelessly racist, whatever. I find myself after the first meeting with them, actually kind of wondering what is the big deal, because again we get ahead of ourselves. But
right.
but the purpose of the movie is that she's taking her boyfriend. She's white. She's dating this very obviously very black guy, and I say very black. He's.
Yeah, there's no question about his mixture. He's definitely pure,
100% black person.
Yes,
and she hasn't told them that he's black. Which at first I was like, this is incredibly it's unbelievable. But then I've met people like that before, where it's like. Because their excuse was that, well, my parents are not racist, so they'll just accept you. And I'm like, well, what then? If they're so. First of all, if they're so open-minded, why wouldn't you have told them, number one? And number two, that's rude.
I feel like there are some people who think that if they mention race at all, that is racist.
Okay, first of all, I have to express my opinion. That's ridiculous. Because that is part of who I am. I don't. It's, when you say we don't, this idea that we live in a world without color is completely asinine. I like Trevor Noah's response to this. Like there was he had this lady on his show who was this white. I'll just call her white supremacist because that's what
Tommy Lawrence?
That's what she's trying to be. So that's what she's trying to be. So whether she could, so she just said to him, she said, "Oh, I don't see color," and then he without obviously he goes, "Then what do you do when you come to traffic lights?" Because it's like that is the reality. And if there's any and also that's also going to be selfish because whether you are or not, whether the girlfriend is or not. Obviously, her parents, who are from a different generation, might be. So why would you even risk the danger of your boyfriend feeling uncomfortable around them when they meet him for the first time and experience the shock of knowing that he's black? You're just trusting him. Number one. Then number two, it's like it also this I'm going to slow down here for a minute. That's also what you were saying about her sweet innocent thing, where I think sometimes it's what I call willful and intentional ignorance, because for you to actually behave like that sincerely, that must mean you must be ignoring the reality of racial issues in America or anywhere in the world. You must be ignoring the fact that there is a huge part of the population and people who for a long time. Does have problems with race relations. So for you to go, well, I just feel the world is fine and everything is great, whatever, and my parents whatever will treat my boyfriend fine, whatever, and then later express shock and oh my God, I can't believe they did that. That to me is just willfully that's hard for me to forgive because you're being willfully ignorant. You have to make an effort to be that ignorant. You can't just it doesn't happen naturally. You have to make an effort to be that dumb. You have to turn off part of you have to ignore it because there's so much evidence coming at you in society. You have to cut yourself. You could. I don't know what city they were supposed to be in.
New York, actually.
You can't live in New York and not really. It's impossible. So what do you think? You're going to go out of New York? I mean, New York is actually kind of liberal. You're going to go out of New York and experience So my point is that I met people like that before. I was reading that's part of the premise of the movie that it was a play on liberals. Like some people who claim I'm liberal. I don't see color, all that kind of stuff. But underneath, they're actually they're just as racist as everybody else. They just don't think of themselves that way because they have what they believe is this open-minded thing. But really, what it is just they're just fantasizing. As long as they be in the position of superiority, then they're not troubled by it. And we can go into that further later. I think you want us to pause now first.
Yeah. No. I thought we should probably go back. Okay. So
Okay.
so we've met Chris. Chris. We've met Rose. So at the beginning of the movie, basically Rose has come over to Chris's apartment with pastry, which is a mitigating factor.
Donuts.
That was nice of her.
Donuts. Yes. Nice.
Yeah. And she's waiting for him to finish packing so that they can go on this trip to meet her family after 4 months of dating, which seemed a little soon to me.
No. Okay. Well, no. I totally. I disagree with that, but we don't have to cover
What?
that.
I'm saying.
Well, I'm just saying that I don't see why if you.
I mean, 4 months of dating seems a little soon for spending a weekend at the parents' house. I feel like maybe just meeting them for dinner or something, but not like.
Yes, yeah. Well, you're right. Maybe they're too far out. They're too far away to have a casual this thing. But because remember, the father asked how long has this been going on?
Yeah.
Which means that
5 months. Sorry.
Yeah. Which means that he was not during the 5 months up to that. He didn't know.
Right.
So and then she did something when they was packing that was also a little bit annoying, where I guess maybe I guess I'm looking at this with older eyes. Mm-hmm. So maybe when I was younger, I would have noticed it. Okay, so he was packing, and obviously something was bothering him, mm-hmm. and she kept asking unrelated questions until finally, but she knew something was bothering him. So finally, that she was holding his dog, she put his dog down, and she had to find out what's bothering Daddy. So she went over and kind of pressed further to find out what was wrong with him, and I was like, okay. I guess I'm being overcritical, but that kind of interaction is like, why couldn't he have just? Obviously, I'm looking at this with older eyes, so that would never happen with me now because I would have just said right out, this is what's bothering me.
So this is something that annoyed you about her or about him?
Well, a little bit about both of them actually. I found her I have to go talk to Daddy about this thing a little bit condescending because he's a grown man. Whatever it's what I mean is that she's asking him something's bothering him. Now, my opinion, she's already know what's bothered him, but she's not a mind reader, leaving that aside, whatever. And then rather than asking him, wait, what's wrong? Is there something wrong? Whatever. She asked him all these 4 or 5 questions to really get it down, and then she would ask him, did you bring your toothbrush? That would really bother me. Did you bring your toothbrush? Did you bring all this different stuff? And I'm like, look. I don't,
I didn't read it that way.
I know. I get
For me, it was just like she was just asking him stuff like, "Oh, how's this packing going?" I think she was just trying to see how the packing was going, and then when he was being however he was being, then she was like, "Okay, well, let's talk about talk about this."
That's what I say. Again, now I am a dysfunctional, whatever the word is, whatever crazy person.
But I mean, it wasn't. There was no way for her to know that because the thing he was like worried about was a question that he hadn't even asked her yet. Like what he was worried about was like, oh, have you told your parents that I'm black? So, like, there was no way for how would she have known that he was upset about that when he had never asked it?
What I got from that is that I think he already knew she hadn't asked her. Otherwise he wouldn't have been bothered. It would have been like, oh, they know I'm black, right? What? They don't know I'm black? That kind of stuff. But I think he already knew that she hadn't told them. So do they know I'm black? And then so something was so what I mean is that something's bothering him, and she's asking him and then that's a pet peeve of mine, which is probably not something that it's just me being.
Well, yeah, but I'm like, if he wasn't willing to like say it outright, then what was she supposed to do about that?
What I mean is that I think her questioning. I don't think her questioning was really. It wasn't about the packing. It was about she said something was wrong with him. And then she was probing him with these questions, and then when she was proven right, she went to ask him more directly. And it was supposed to be a scene, a normal boyfriend girlfriend scene with normal healthy relationship people where they were supposed to expressing their emotions to each other in a calm and non-judgmental way. And of course they discussed it, whatever, and came to a resolution in this thing. So I mean, maybe I'm jealous because I could not have done that.
Yeah. So the way that they interacted as a relationship when they would have their disagreements, they disagreed in a way that it wasn't entirely like clear to me. I'm going to share an anecdote and then come back around to this. Mm-hmm. So I was watching a YouTube video, mm-hmm. and it was a prank video. So this couple, for some reason, people who like have couple channels on YouTube like to play pranks on each other. This is their, I don't know, it's part of their original content. So it was a couple where they usually do reaction videos, mm-hmm. where they like watch another video and react to it. Mm-hmm. But he decided to like turn that reaction video into a prank video by having his friend like text him in the video, and then he was going to pretend that it was a text from some woman that he might be having an affair.
Oh God!
It's a fairly common prank.
That is such a dumb prank.
It's common. God. I've seen prank videos for like. They're the usual ones like, oh, there's poop in the bed, there's a cockroach on the floor.
Those are sane normal.
But I've
ones.
also seen prank videos for like, oh, I'm on cocaine, or prank videos for I want to break up, or prank videos for.
Okay. First one, yes. Second one, no.
And so this was a prank, like, caught cheating prank video, and it's not uncommon at all. So what I liked about this is the first. This is one of the few prank videos that I enjoy, and especially this is the first like caught cheating prank video that I've enjoyed.
How can that go well? Because either she believes it, and then she's going to be really pissed that he's cheating, whatever, or she doesn't believe it, and then he's going to be pissed.
Well, or it could be acting either way. So I saw a prank video where it was two. Where it was a lesbian couple,
okay.
and one of the women was like, "Oh, I'm prank cheating on you," but then the other woman figured it out really quickly, so that was like, okay, whatever. That it figured out that it was a prank really quickly. But this one, I'm not sure if she figured out it was a prank or not. Like if she did, then kudos to her acting ability. The one thing I liked about this video, honestly, is because the one I liked about this video, honestly, is because her reactions actually were like relatable to me. I feel like the other prank videos I've seen, people were like, oh, they I don't know, they talk all quietly and they all seem so calm and whatever. But this woman actually, like, she got visibly upset. She like knocked his hat off his head. She was like grabbing his phone. I'm like, it's not really functional, but that is pretty much how I would react if I had a legitimate concern that someone was like legitimately getting a text message from some other woman in front of me and trying to lie to my face about it. Because so I guess when I'm used to the idea of if you're violently upset, then you're having a little bit of a physical reaction to it. You're not just like standing in a corner with your arms crossed, talking through gritted teeth. But I feel like with Chris and Rose, when they had their arguments, it was like there was so much that was like they would have their interaction. It would be a very quiet interaction, and then it would just be silence, and that would be the fight. And I'd be like, "What? How is this? You're not saying anything. How is this an argument if there's no yelling?"
Yes, obviously couples fight differently.
Yeah,
and I don't know it's whatever works for them. My arguments are often of the yelling type, but I've always seen that as a negative. But then again, like yourself, I've always found people who have these what I would regard as same reactions, a little bit disingenuous. Because if I'm angry, if I'm truly angry about something, it's very different. The definition of being angry is that I can't control my emotions. I can't. If I can calmly look at the situation, okay, you're cheating on me. Okay, well let's examine this. Let's examine this seriously. So, let me examine my part in it, and let me hear what you have to say. Why? Let me truly listen to you and find out why you did that, and maybe find out where I might have played a part, and then maybe we can both go closer to those two, or maybe maybe it's a good thing because it might have. Because it might have exposed things that we need to talk about. But let's talk about it. Let's have a conversation about it. Whatever.
I'm open to having that conversation, but that's not going to be the first conversation we have.
Well, first of all, there. Okay, at least you're a little bit more mature than I am, because for me, if there's no.
Well, yeah, for you it would be like just over.
Yeah.
I'm moving out.
What's there to talk about? We're done. If you cheat on me, there's nothing else to talk about. But the only reason I wouldn't be yelling is because I would think that I would want that would be pointless. There's no point in there's nothing to discuss. Right. The act of what you've done has already indicated how you want the relationship to end, and so let's move on to the next thing. But yeah, you're. I want to move further in the movie. I don't know if
I feel like we've gotten only through the first 5 minutes.
Yeah. We can jump up. They go on the trip, whatever.
Yeah. So they go on the trip. Actually, something interesting happened on the way there. Their car gets hit by a deer, which is creepy. Anyway,
it does happen. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but it was so horrifying. It was so horrifying. Anyway, so then they call the police. I'm assuming that Chris insisted on calling the police about the deer. Because
the deer was wounded, and she probably would have driven off, but
she definitely would have driven off,
right.
Because she had an agenda.
Right.
So the funny thing, so the police officer asks Chris for his license or ID, and Rose like intervenes with that, Chris takes that as her protecting him, like
she did. She said that. Right.
Yes, but reflecting on what happened in the movie later, that could have just been a way of making sure that like no one knew who he was, like a way of another way of.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Like keeping him hidden.
Because
the police officer.
That could very well be. I hadn't even considered that. That's true. I took the whole street at face value of what it was. But you're right. Because what happened was the policeman asked Chris for his ID. He did, and she challenged, said, "Why are you asking for that? He wasn't driving." And the policeman, goes, "Well, we can ask for ID, whatever." So the implication was supposed to be that he was upset because the cop was oppressing this black guy because he was driving with a white woman, and the white woman was now again. At first, she was getting a little bit annoying because she was saying, "Oh, why she was reveling in her white privilege, meaning that she could talk to the policeman and say, no, I'm not going to give you my ID.
I was pretty sure they were both going to get arrested. Like,
no. See, that's the thing. She was in no danger.
Right.
That's another thing. That's what I mean. But it falls into the same thing with not telling her parents, where she's living in a very. I mean, at this point, the image she's giving, she's living in the midst of white privilege, where if they can just talk you out to police, and they can. He was gonna give the police his
ID.
Yeah. Now, I've run into different situations. I've run into that before with black women, and they go, "Why are you being so nice?" Well, the reason I'm being nice is because it's very likely the police are gonna shoot you or beat you up, whatever. And and it's just easier to give them their damn. I'm not give them my. I don't see what the big deal is. Give them my ID. This is a racist country. The police do kill people. I don't want to die over. This is not where I'm making my stand. Whatever. That's number one. Number two is like I don't see how that's helping me, because when you're not here, this couldn't happen. So you're the only reason you're getting away with this is you're just throwing into base relief how different we are, because you if I talk to policemen the way you're talking, I would go into jail. You're not going to let you off precisely because you're white and a lady, whatever. Mm-hmm. So anyway, go on.
Yeah. So that I just thought that was an interesting interaction.
But that's a good catch. I did not even think of that angle a little bit. Yeah. Yeah.
So then they get up to her parents' house, which.
Okay.
So the first thing they drive in and they see there's landscaper George just mowing the lawn.
And he's black.
I
didn't see anything wrong with that.
And then she's just like, oh, it's the caretaker.
Okay.
And you can see that Chris has some thoughts about that, but
I wondered, because I was like, well, yeah, he's a black guy, he's a gardener.
But in this day and age, wouldn't you have Latino caretakers around your house?
How is that any less racist? That's what I mean.
It's just more normal.
Why couldn't it have been a white housekeeper? Why is the race of the guy bad? He's the guy doing his job.
I'm just saying, in this day and age, it's just more normal to see Latin people.
What do you mean normal? What do you?
It is more normal. I mean, when was the last time you saw a black housekeeper or a white housekeeper?
When you saw housekeeper, I've seen. Well, by the way, I have seen both. I've seen white housekeepers working for black people and vice versa. Not as many, I will admit.
I feel like I've only seen that on television. Like I feel like in real life, the only people I've seen acting in that kind of servant role are maybe Latin people or or like islanders.
I happen to have seen both. But I realize it's not very common. Whatever. But I didn't see. To me, that's another thing where another pet peeve of mine where. Yes, that is because what it does is, and the father made point of it later, where white people employing all black people, that seems unusual. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's like, if this wasn't a horror movie and this wasn't going to go horribly wrong in some terrible way, whatever,
it'd be perfectly normal.
Yeah, I would have thought. Well, I don't see what the big deal is. It's like I realize that it might look bad, but that's because I don't have the historical perspective like people do. To me, they were just people doing their jobs, and they happen to be.
And nothing wrong with that. I can see myself, especially when they pull up to the door and then they walk in and the parents are there, and then there's another black woman who's the
housekeeper.
Who's the housekeeper. Then that starts as for me as the only other black person in that scenario, that starts to feel a little bit awkward, just because I would worry. Actually, I don't know if Chris felt this way, but I think I would feel worried about like if they would worry if the other two black people in the scenario who are would think that I thought I was better than them.
Okay, see again that I can totally see that. See that people might think that, but again, that is part of because I would. There's nothing I can. I can't go into their brains to stop them from thinking that.
Right.
And so obviously I'm not thinking that, and that I mean I think it's just unfortunate, because I truly am looking at them as people who are doing jobs, and to me it's like what do they say that you can't have anybody over to the house who's not the owners of the house who's not white, And also, I think it's also unfortunately because I wouldn't assume that the white people, because they employed these people, thought of them as less. To me, they were they're people. I don't consider people. And also, this is part of growing up in maybe a country where you do have people who live with you and work with you, and maybe who might be seen in that prospect. I don't think of them as less. There are people who need the people who own the house. Have people whose jobs need to be done by and can afford to pay people to do those jobs. People are doing those jobs. I don't see that makes the people who are paying them or the people who are doing the jobs inferior. Though I realize that's the way it is viewed. Me and then me as the person of the same race as the people walking in there. We are different people. We're different people. They might have more. They might have more money than I do. I do. But that's just so. I realized I saw that's where, again, as we go further into the movie, that's where things are going to start to get a little bit off for me, because many situations that came up in the movie from here on out, I could see how people look at them as, this is really bizarre or profound. Whereas I was like, I don't see what the big deal is. It's like, because they're playing up a lot, but they're workers. Mm-hmm. People are working for them. Well, so that means if I'm a black person, I hire black people to work in my house. Any black people come over to the house, that they would see themselves as better than the black people who are working for me. I mean, I don't know. Where does it all stop?
No, I mean, I think that would be a different dynamic entirely.
Okay, and also the other thing is that I don't think that if I had hired white people, and white people came over to the house, that the same dynamic would be at play.
No.
Okay. So
I don't think so either.
Right.
Okay, so Chris has now met Rose's parents. Rose's dad is super awkward.
What is he?
Yes.
What does he do?
He's all like, "Oh, my man,"
Yes.
and that thing where he's like, "How long has this thing been going on?" Super awkward.
Unfortunately, as speaking as a father, I fully expect to be playing that scene myself one day with my daughter.
Well, try to play it less awkward and more
hard,
cool.
It's hard because he was because I saw him as trying to be a little bit friendly, over friendly, which is
honestly, I think the there was just it would have seemed less awkward if there had been less silence, but the way that there was so much silence.
But he kept talking. There was no silence. He kept talking. They kept trying to shut him up, and he kept talking.
I don't know. I just feel like maybe it wasn't so much what he said, but how he said it, or just like all the silence built into like everything. Like his wife, the way his talking was in contrast to his wife, who was
silent,
who was more silent and just like smiling, and and then he kept talking.
See, I found her. See, again, that situation, I would immediately found her more worrisome. To me, he was normal. To me, yes, he's a dad. As a dad, this is his daughter bringing home some guy. Obviously, he's gonna be a little bit. There's a tense situation, whatever. He needs to be cooled out because the implication is I'm banging his daughter. Yeah, that's what's going on here.
Well, it's not even an implication.
Yeah, exactly.
They shared a room.
Exactly. So that's always. I'm sorry. That is a little bit of a tense thing. And so most fathers I've met are a little bit. They're whatever race they are. They're a little bit that never goes over smoothly. Then he kept saying these stuff. Then the lady and what they would do is that they would roll their eyes or make what he had said more awkward, but like I can't believe you. Can you believe you just said that? And so throwing what he said into more relief. Well, and again, he was not to say he wasn't being very what's the word you used?
Awkward.
Awkward. But to me it was innocent. Now, just we gotta move this along. He eventually he said they said let's show him the bedroom. But then he said, let's show him the tour. Now, I thought that was going to be the moment, okay, here's my sign that says what's going on. Where the normal thing, where the magic.
Oh, what are your intentions toward my daughter?
Or he drops some hint to show where you're just you think you might have got this you might have got this far, but you're not going any further. Where we'll never let the talk, for example, the hidden talk, whatever,
right.
whatever. But he didn't, which was
which is also probably a telling sign right there.
Yeah, well, he took him out into the back, and then he said, and he even called out the fact, oh, I know how it looks, black people, whatever. But then Chris said, huh? Chris just kind of agreed with him, and I was like, okay, but what do you? Okay, again.
I think Chris was trying to play it cool himself, like just not say too much.
But my point is that Chris was obviously very upset by at that point, and that's what I said before. That's where we begin to diverge, because I would not have been upset as he was at that moment.
And frankly, at that point, Chris had said about the wrong thing. He was thinking about maybe the weird possible racial tensions in the house, and I was thinking about, wait, what did he just say? The nearest neighbor is what? How far away is the nearest neighbor? This is a problem.
In his defense. Considering what was coming down the road, there's no way he could have foreseen. That was the right thing for him to be worried at that moment. Because
if I scream, who's going to hear me?
He could not have heard. There's no way he could have possibly. And by the way, I've been in that situation before. With my first girlfriend. I stayed with her in this town with her mom. His house was way out in the boondocks, whatever. Now again, you see, but why? Okay, let me ask you a question. If they had been, well, your people, for example, is there any situation that you would have felt comfortable?
No, I figured this out a while ago. I like being in situations where if I scream, someone will hear me.
Well, okay, good. I'm not going to. That is a healthy and good attitude for you to have.
Like I figured it out when I was thinking about, like, I live in a neighborhood where the houses are, it's not a townhouse neighborhood, but their houses are still relatively close together. Yeah. And, every now and again you think about, oh, I want to be wealthy and move to my enclave in the middle of the Santa Cruz Hills, miles away from anyone else. But I'm like, wait, no,
that's not going to happen.
I want people to be closer to me than that, because if something can happen, and I want people to hear me scream.
That's okay.
If there's no one in the house with me, I want my neighbors to be close enough to hear me in distress.
As I've said before, I think we can believe that point. That is 100% correct. You know my feelings on that. So
yes. So that's my thing.
Not for myself, of course, but
so the minute
for you,
the guy was like,
for sure,
the nearest neighbor is how many miles away? And I was like, wait, why? Ugh, no,
But okay, but by the way, there's also a gender thing too, because I think a lot of guys. That's another thing, especially considering what comes later. That's what plays into this movie a lot. That as black guys, our natural prey, our natural predators, are what's the word? Our natural predators against us are the cops, or either other black guys or people with guns, basically. It's very rare that as a black guy you're in a situation where you feel that you're in any kind of physical danger. Usually people are afraid of you. Usually you are the one that people are afraid of. If you're walking down the road, whatever, people crossing the street, whatever, they're not coming to confront you. If you're just in general, there are only a few what are called predators of black guys. The predators of black guys are terrible and very efficient. Like they die all the time but they're only killed by other black guys, or black guys specifically, or by cops. Mm-hmm. Like like I said, if I'm walking down a road, like the way it would not have occurred to me to be scared, because conversely, if a black guy is in a situation, you're usually the one that people are scared of. People are usually, if you're black and if a black guy walking around a situation, and especially if you're around ladies, women, whatever, automatically there's tension. Because you could, I guess you could go crazy at any moment and kill them, whatever, or whip out a crack pipe or something like that, or gun and start blasting, blast it or whatever. You never know what they're going to do. So at that moment, I understand why he wasn't worried about that. Whatever, you're right. He probably should have. Whatever. Yeah. The mother freaked me out from the beginning.
Yeah, she was a little like she had a very. The mother was played by Catherine Keener, who was I've only seen her, I think, in the 40-year-old virgin, so I don't know that I've seen her in anything else. And the dad was played by Bradley Whitford, who I think was on The West Wing. And he also did some stuff on Parks and Recreation, but I haven't seen him much other stuff either, because I don't watch that much television lately. Anyway, so Catherine Keener had a very witchy aspect. Like her hair was tangled, wild curls. And she had it dressed in very, like, I wouldn't have been surprised to find out that she was a Wiccan, but she was a psychologist. But she was a
psychology closes.
Psychiatrist, hypnotherapist.
Yes. What's wrong with that?
No, nothing. In the course of in the context of the movie, it's horrifying. But in real life, I'm sure hypnotherapists are wonderful people.
Yeah, she reminds me of quite more than one of my therapists.
Yeah, and I've considered going to hypnotherapists. Or
I don't know if that therapist, but just ordinary therapists,
Yeah. So now we've met the parents, and that went okay. A little awkward, but mostly fine. Chris met the other house. He met Georgina, the other housekeeper, the other caretaker.
Yeah, lady.
And then he met the final member of the family.
The brother.
The brother.
Who's an asshole.
The brother was creepy.
He was just an asshole.
Yeah,
he was a total asshole.
I would not have been surprised, and he seemed to be like everyone else seemed like they were from upstate New York, and the brother walked in, and it's like, what, did Louisiana just walk in the door? Where did you come from?
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're right. He was very yeah.
And actually, that reminds me of something else. So we're gonna jump ahead.
Okay.
To remember at the very last scene, the last confrontation between Chris and the brother, and the brother was trying to choke him out with his jujitsu moves.
Yeah.
And then he started counting, like trying to count down to when Chris would pass out, and he was saying 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if the word Mississippi actually inspired Chris to like defend himself a bit more because the whole like Mississippi goddamn thing.
I don't know, but Mississippi is usually the word you say for 1 second.
I know, but I'm just I'm just wondering.
Maybe.
I feel like that was written in the script quite deliberately because he could have not.
By the way, I didn't figure out. I guess to watch it again. I guess he pulled the knob out and stabbed him in the leg with it.
Well, I think because I think he knew whenever he went for the knob, the guy would kick it away.
Right.
So then he like decided to do an actual like a ploy or a feint, and so he went for the knob again, but this time he went for the knob knowing that the guy would kick it away, and then that's when he took the opportunity to like stab him because
I guess the guy kicked it and knocked the knob out of the thing and left them with the thing there. Okay.
Well, because he had the knife in his hand from whatever was going on in the other room.
He stabbed him with the doorknob.
But I think Chris still had the knife from like he'd gotten the knife from someplace else.
What I mean, sorry. Just to be clear, we're really jumping ahead here. He used the knife. He left the knife stuck in the mother's eye. Because remember, he stabbed her first. But he got up. His hands were clear. He went out the door. Then the brother grabbed him from behind, and he was using it because you saw both hands. Because if he had the knife before that, he would have stabbed him right there. What he did very cleverly was that he kept going for the knob. The brother kept kicking the door shut. So at one point, he grabbed the knob. The brother kicked the door shut, thereby knocking the door away from the knob, leaving the internal of the knob with the weapon, and they was able to use it to stab him in the leg.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Maybe I guess I missed that.
Yeah.
I didn't get that. I didn't think he stabbed the mother.
Yeah, well, what do you think he did with her? Like, remember?
I thought he just stomped her.
She came with him with the knife. She brought the knife.
It was in his hand.
Yeah, because then he did the whole gliding.
I actually literally had my eyes closed at that moment.
Yeah, you probably did. Yeah, a lot. By the way, I'm not gonna because a lot was happening at that time where my eyes were closed a lot.
Yeah,
because at a certain point I was like, okay, this is eye closing time.
So the movie was mostly fine, but right when we got to the end,
last 20 minutes
I started watching through my hands.
Yeah,
it got a little gory.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going.
But by the way, do we have to see? The thing is, I know we're I'm just stopping because I like, but I thought you didn't want to do this. I thought you didn't want to review the entire movie in this way.
Well,
we can. You know?
Yeah, I might as well. We're already doing it.
Okay.
So we should probably jump ahead to the next relevant portion.
Well, yeah, we very quickly. Well, weird things, that night he what was he upset about that night? He was upset. He was upset because what was he upset about that night?
So he and Rose they finally got some time alone. They had the conversation about oh my God, my family's never been like this before. I had no idea this was going to happen. I'm so sorry.
That especially increased the annoyance because again, taking her at face value I was like, again, willful ignorance. Mm-hmm. Now and again,
even if she didn't suspect it of her parents, she had to know her brother was a little sketch.
Yeah, and also what you see. My point is that and also even his reaction was at that point it started to annoy me a little bit because even there he was like, well, I told well, duh, dude. It's like what do you mean you told her so? It's like I guess it's just.
Actually, this kind of leads into my biggest question about the movie. Not my biggest question, but it's a question. So pretty much the minute they got Chris up to the house, they could have just tied him up, locked him in the basement, and let it go.
Yeah.
Why did they keep him? Why did they keep up the charade?
The auction.
Yeah, but they could have done that with him locked
No,
tied up in the basement.
they needed him to be performing.
Oh, so they could.
Yeah, because remember the one who actually got him in the end was the guy that wouldn't have happened.
But the guy already wanted him.
I know, but my point is that was part of it, where he had to see him performing.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, there was a if they had, remember. They were immediately he had been auctioned off, whatever, okay, and had been dealt with.
Mm-hmm.
Then very quickly they went towards because right after the auction took place when he was having a discussion with the girl at the lake. That night they were going to do it.
Yeah.
And then from then on it would have been all straight to brain transplant. So there was my point is that immediately the guy he was auctioned off. Almost within less than 24 hours, he was already heading towards the butcher shop,
right?
Whatever. So,
and this reminds me, we've forgotten to mention the most important character in the film. So there was Chris's dog Sid, but then there was Chris's friend Rod. The smartest thing that Chris did in this film was have a dog and then ask his friend to take care of his dog for the weekend and stay in contact with his friend through the course of the weekend, both to find out about his dog and also just because he was.
Right.
I mean. He needed someone to decompress with, and that person was not going to be Rose.
Yeah.
So that was the smartest thing.
And by the way, I will say this: I like that character a lot because to me he was normal. He was well, of course it's a horror movie, so whatever. So who's normal in the movie? But he wasn't overtly, oh my God, whatever. His concern about Chris, I don't think it necessarily had to do with the race of the girl. It was just the situation. Don't go out. There were so many parts of that movie where I was like, look, even when he's going to see the deer, come on, dude. You're a black guy. You're in a movie. There's a thing making a weird noise in a wood. What are you doing? You don't walk towards that thing. You move away. Whatever. You're in a weird house. There's weird sounds. There's weird sounds. You don't walk to an you don't wake up in the middle of the night and walk through an empty house which has a basement in it to go to a cigarette.
But I think it was the nature of Chris to be reactive in that way. Like that was the reason. Like he's been kicking himself ever since his mother died because instead of reacting to his mother being missing, he just sat in the chair.
Well, we get to that later. But to me, he was a kid.
Yeah, but I'm saying,
what was he supposed to do?
saying, like, not all kids would have done that. So I'm just saying, everyone's different, and I think it was Chris's nature to be more observant, to like sit back more, observe more, and be more reaction than action.
No, you're right, but I'm referring to tropes such as the fact that if you're a black person and you're in a weird house. Mm-hmm. You do not get up in the middle of the night and walk through the house without turning on the lights.
Yeah, I definitely would have stayed in the room if I were him. But then he couldn't have had a cigarette.
There were several weird. Yes, there were several. When he was leaving, there was a snapshot of the house, people watering the house through the house too.
But he didn't notice that.
He did. When he looked to the side, there was like, oh, but he thought I just don't. But he kept going already. As a black person, weird person walking, you don't go forward because obviously you're gonna get eaten, whatever. And then he went outside, and then I mean we're jumping ahead, but my point is that things happen outside, which also he just stood there.
Yeah, like the caretaker George was just like running toward him, and I would have gotten out of the way sooner than he did.
I would have been like, what what I mean, and again, at that moment I thought surely this person's coming to eat him. Mm-hmm. I was like, I think the kick came off from the main characters. I wonder what was going on, but it was like any standard horror movie, that any one of those options, you would have been eaten by the monster. Whatever. What are you doing? That's not how black people die in movies. You're not the one who goes into the basement. That's white person's job. But anyway, go on.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Okay. So that was basically the first night in the house. Chris is a smoker, and his girlfriend gives him crap about it, and then so he after they've had their conversation and she apologizes and they have their makeup sex, he goes outside to have a cigarette, but then
I've never understood that, by the way.
What?
How you can have sex in the same house as your
I feel like this will be one of those quote unquote white people things.
Okay. Okay. Cool. We can move on. Yeah.
I mean,
because I can't. I don't think that's
like, I don't know how it is in real life, but I feel like in movies that's one of the things that.
No. In real life, because in the not just there have been times close where I've been with people, whatever, and they've wanted to, and I'm like, what are you talking? I'm sorry. It's like, yes, we're adults, but what if noises are made? Because especially now that I have a daughter. I don't want let's move on. I don't want to even think about that.
Alrighty.
Let's go.
Note, I didn't say anything.
Good. There's nothing
All
to be
right.
said.
So then he comes back in the house, and Rose's mother is sitting up in the living room.
Right.
And actually, she was sitting in a dark room, and then when he comes in, she turns the light on.
Duh!
And then he goes and sits down with her. And I'm just like,
saying, what's going on here?
and I feel like Chris is trying really hard to be nice and impress his girlfriend's parents. But I'm like,
good.
at that point, you should have been like, oh, no, actually, I think I'm just going to go back up to bed. Don't sit down with the crazy woman who was sitting in the dark waiting for you to like come into the house and say cryptic stuff to you.
Now, at that moment, you see, the way I would have read that, if they hadn't all been horrible monsters, whatever, I would have considered, okay, now she's going to reveal her true feelings about me. And so, yeah, I just see,
so you would have actually sat down.
Absolutely, because again, that's where we differ. I don't expect the parents of my girlfriends to like me. That's not their job. It's not their job to like me. Their job is to. In fact, they probably are going to dislike me, whatever race they are. Mm-hmm. And so my job when I'm around them is to present myself for their perusal and to. I'm interviewing for a job. You know, whether that's it's a job that I'm very confident I'm going to get.
Well, you've already got the job.
Well, no, because I consider I don't think that I think that most normal people that I would if I dated somebody and they were very very much opposed or didn't care what their parents thought about them, I would see that as a
red flag.
As a red flag, a big red flag, whatever. So parents that screaming at me necessarily not because that doesn't really. People being upset at me doesn't really that's not what bothers me. And also I'd rather know. I want to know what you think. And I'm so arrogant that I just think, well, you know, once you get to know me, you'll definitely love me.
I mean, I would have sat down too, but it's just like at that point, I feel like I don't know. I feel like some of Chris's problem just came from like wanting so much to be liked.
Well, what's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with that, but it's also a way in which you can occasionally become trapped in a situation that's not good for you.
Absolutely true. But in this situation, he was supposed to be. Those are her parents.
Yeah.
His job is he's supposed to be wanting to be liked by them.
Yes. So this is where this is the scene where the mother demonstrates that she is either a really terrible person or just a really terrible therapist.
Well, no, she's a great therapist.
Because a good therapist, or at least an ethical therapist, isn't going to hypnotize someone without their permission.
Well, I was referring to her skills because she was able to do it.
Well, yeah,
that's what I wonder whether they gave her some drugs, or whatever.
That makes her capable, but it doesn't make her good. You know.
Well, again, I think we're being a little bit because of course these people are. I think among the things that they were planning for this person, I think that was probably the least things.
But that was
they were all terrible people, and she was a horrible person, and. I don't think her therapeutic skills or lack thereof made her any more or less a person.
Yeah,
Whatever.
I mean, I did kind of wonder like how she treated her other patients. It just made me wonder about that.
Well, she was because she see. I thought when you first started talking, I thought you were going to refer to the fact that she basically pounded him on his mother. She basically dragged him.
Yeah, but I mean that was also.
But well, was it? Because she kept asking him because you know if in real life. Let's say that they weren't horrible monsters.
So basically, we forgot to mention. So Chris's mother died when he was 11.
Yeah, we found that out in the scene. So we
already knew. We knew from the first meeting because when they first came in and we're having teen out on the deck.
Right.
That's when they mentioned. That's when they're like, "Oh, what do your parents do?" And he was like, "Oh, my dad is not really in the picture, and my mom died when I was 11, so I was raised by I don't know someone else." So that's another thing. He didn't really have a whole lot of family connections.
Which was all perfect. Which I'm sure Rosa had already figured it out, right?
I'm sure she documented that. Yes.
Right.
So we already knew that.
But we didn't know the depth of it, and so it was.
That was when she was like going to like sit him down and drill him, and he obviously like wasn't really interested in giving that information, but then he did anyway.
Yeah, because that's what I meant by the fact that because that was a little bit weird because because in real life she wouldn't have been able to do that because he almost immediately he said I don't want to talk about this stuff. At which point that would have been the end of it.
Yeah, but I think that's actually like outside of hypnotism, that's actually a trick that I think that people do. It's one of those tricks you learn when you want to be in control of a conversation. Like you don't. Some people will keep talking and trying to convince you. Other people will stop talking, and then that kind of forces the other person to try to fill the space.
Yeah, true. But if it's something that if it's something that really is really and something that really is, and as it turned out to be quite traumatic for the person, then the real thing is he did not want to think about it because he really felt guilty about it, and he didn't want to share with this person he just met that day because he didn't want to reveal himself to her, and he wouldn't have, to somebody who he had just met and wasn't even sure about, whatever. I know, and also it obviously made him very uncomfortable to talk about, which I feel bad that he didn't get better therapy, because I kept thinking every time he brought it up, I was like, dude, it's like, come on, you're a little kid. I realized you would have been terrified, but it's like. It's hard to you're down. I don't know how old he was when that happened. Basically, the thing was his mother was out one night, and then she
had gone to work.
She'd gone to work,
and she just never came home.
She just never came home, and he was watching television, and he didn't call 911 or do anything. Now maybe not calling 911 is what he might feel guilty about that. But again, he was a little kid. But he was feeling about not going out and looking for her. And I was like, again, you're a little kid. It's like, I understand that you will feel that way. But hopefully with better therapy you can realize that that part of it is not your fault. There's only so much you can do. Terrible things happen, and your mother probably would have. There's no need for you to feel guilt. Putting that weight upon yourself that is just adding onto the pain. But that's the part of the movie we can go on.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so at this point, that is when the first of the. Well, we can't really do it in this part, but that's when the first of these psychological terrors happened, because that's when the Rose's mother hypnotized Chris and put him into the sunken place.
Okay.
And then he woke up in his bed, in bed with Rose, and he thought, but he was still wearing the clothes from last night.
Yes.
So obviously he didn't believe it was a dream.
Right.
But he thought some parts of it was a dream, and then he didn't really know how to suss it all out,
right?
Until he talked to.
But he knew she had hypnotized him, because remember he said, I have no more desire for cigarettes.
Yeah, but he didn't really come to that. He didn't really seem to resolve that in his mind until after he talked to the caretaker, George.
Okay, sure.
When he talked to George, and George was like, "Oh, well, how did it go? Because you were in her office for a long time last night." Then he was like, "Oh, I was. That did happen." And that's after that is when he said to Rose, "I think your mom hypnotized me." And this is the scene where I was like, "Rose, this is a little sketch on your part," where she was like, she heard that her mom hypnotized her boyfriend without his consent, and she didn't seem at all upset about that.
No, well, because she wanted to stop smoking.
Yeah, but it's the without consent part that becomes a problem.
Again, even see, the thing is, I think that this comes down to the inherent goodness or evils of people, like where it's like, I think that most the people, my people that I usually come in contact with would have made the calculation. Well, smoking is so much horrible. Smoking is a horrible thing. It's affecting your health. It's killing you, whatever. And so, even though this is not, you obviously have no willpower to stop it, stop from doing it. So while I won't let a policeman disrespect you, whatever, my mother hypnotizing you is for your own good.
Yeah, at that point, I would have been like, "No, this is not okay. It's completely unethical. Your mother is a doctor, and she, if nothing else, should know better than to perform procedures on people without getting their express consent."
Doctors do that all the time.
But it's not. It doesn't make it okay.
See, I'm not saying whether it's okay or not.
What I'm saying is, so basically, that's the scene where I'm like, her reaction to that was not to my liking.
Sure. Well, okay. Well, you're welcome to the club, because whatever. As I said, the reason I was to read that one, because to me by that moment, by that time, she had already revealed herself to have so many negative qualities that bothered me. For example, remember when I was saying in the beginning of the movie, when I was saying she was being condescending by asking him, that is a part of that's a part of a person which I didn't like. A lot, especially a lot of times, and not all, but sometimes in certain relationships, often when we have relationships between the sometimes in what I want to say intercultural, not just sort of interracial, because these happen from different who are the same race but from different countries, whatever. Where one person clearly feels that they are superior to the other person, just subconsciously, they just feel, oh, I'm American, I'm American, you're from Mexico, so my culture is obviously spiritual. I'm Christian, you're Muslim, Christian is obviously better. Whatever. They just automatically assume that they're superior, and a lot of relationship is dependent on it, where they tend to infantilize the other person, especially. Not especially, but it happens with men, where this, like I just give an example of it. I have a friend where there's an interracial relationship, and the guy I knew the guy. He had dated a black woman before, and he dated this white woman. And then when he was dating the white woman, he would do dumb things like maybe drive drunk or whatever, just do dumb things, and or he would go out and he would get into trouble. He would do risky things like maybe yell at the police or whatever. And she would just defend. Oh, he's just he can't help himself. He's just the way. And at some point this guy lost his job, and so for it was hard for him to get another job. So but he started blaming his problems on the white man, you know how it is, they don't give a brother a chance, that kind of stuff. And again, those of us around the brothers around him, we're like, come on, dude, you're really late. Get up, go get a job. It's like yeah, we all that's no excuse. But she would always say, oh well, it is true, whatever. You can't, the man is against him, whatever. And to me, that was infantilizing him. It's like you are letting him get, and also I'll give you an even funnier example. I have one of my relatives. Who you know. He was talking to us one day, and he was telling us about his wife was sitting there, and he was telling us about his medical. And he said I went to the doctor. Doctor told me to take all these vitamins, but I don't like taking vitamins, so I didn't take them. So then his wife said, oh well, you do take them. And he goes, no, I don't. I remember you were there when I told Dr. America to take it. Yeah, what you do? And he's like, no, I don't. He said, yes, I do. I just crushed them up. I put them in your food without telling you. And he was like, what? Yeah, and he said, how long have you been doing this? For years. He's like, yeah, well, I wasn't going to argue. He said, I wasn't going to argue with you at that time. I knew, but I knew you need to take vitamins. So, I just, what was the choice? You're going to take them. So I didn't want to argue with you. So I just crushed them, put it in your food, and everybody's happy. Blah, 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 whatever. So again, these are all examples of people going, doing things which are beyond the, which by the way, if I had found that, no relationship I've ever been where I would have accepted that. I don't like people.
Yeah, like obviously she must have known that he'd be okay with it, or else she wouldn't have mentioned it. Because that does seem risky to mention it. Like do it or don't do it. But once you picked a course.
But years later, and again, years later. I mean, but see, the trick is with these things that what I found is that often they're right. Meaning that, like I noticed, like if I noticed the white girl looking at the guy. I saw her being actually condescending. He didn't see it that way. He thought he was getting a great deal. Let's on the couch. She supports me in my situation. I saw it as though she's not treating like a man. She's treating like a child. Whatever. I saw it that way. He didn't see it that way. The person who the vitamins. He was upset, but I'm quite sure that he probably considered eating her food. He was upset for a brief moment, but then I'm sure he moved on, whatever. And I'm sure that and knowing this person, I'm sure that there's a lot of stuff happens, and some of it, unfortunately, probably does need to happen that way. So, but let's go on.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, by now we're both on the same page. Rose, in many ways, is just in.
Well,
I don't mind. There's nothing wrong with people having. I'm not one of these people who thinks, white. I hate the term white girls. It's just dumb. Women are women, and they all. But she was a particularly bad stereotype of all things I sometimes find bad about relationships of this type. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, my as I said, I find it particularly like manipulative. As the weekend progressed, they started to have more conflicts, and I found that the way she responded to conflicts was that Chris would raise an issue, she would make a joke out of it, so she would like immediately belittle the issue, and then when she thought that he was really upset, then she would, I don't know, I don't remember the exact formula, but she would find a way of withholding affection until he like recanted, and then came around to her way.
Wait, give me an example. Go on.
So they, the first thing that comes, okay, so when they were so they were in the room, and he realized that his phone was unplugged, so he couldn't call his friend Rob.
Right.
So she walks in, and he's like, oh, maybe Georgina did something because
she definitely did something. He said she did, and it gave a reason for why she did it.
Yeah, and you can see how like he's trying to figure out what's going on, and he's sort of tossing out these possible reasons, and then she's gaslighting him because he's like, oh, George, George the caretaker seems like it's not what he's saying, but it's the way he's saying it. He seems very hostile, and she's like, oh, well. And like maybe he has a crush on you. I don't know what the reason is, but like there's something there. And she's like, oh, well, you think
who's a crush on you?
Remember when he was talking about George the caretaker?
No, that wasn't the one who had a crush on you. It was the other guy.
No, he was saying I don't know if like maybe he likes you, but for some reason he's being hostile to me. That's what what he said.
I missed that part.
And then she was like, oh, so you think I have a shot with him? So that was her first thing to make a joke about the
I
thing
totally
with George.
missed that part. Yeah.
And then
now again, I must once again reassert here that had they not turned out to be horrible monsters of the worst kind, I would have seen your point a little bit. Come on, man. It's like she obviously didn't unplug your phone on purpose,
Well, but it's not. The whole thing with. So that was another thing with Georgina came into the room and his phone was unplugged and he was like, oh, I think she touched my phone. Maybe she did it because she doesn't like me because I'm with you.
Exactly,
and Rose was like, what? And he was like, well, that is a thing.
Well, how would that be a thing?
It's a thing where some black women don't like that black men date white women.
Okay,
that is a thing.
Right. Now that is a thing, but the thing is, as the person in the relationship or whatever, how am I supposed to respond to that?
I don't know. I'm just saying, like, as they had these increasing conflicts, I noticed her standard MO was first to laugh, and then kind of gaslight him to a certain extent, and then as the conflicts grew more serious, like for example when they were down at the lake. So,
but then she agreed with him because
so there was this party. The parents had a big party, and apparently. I don't know, Rose had forgotten it was that weekend, quote unquote, forgotten it was that weekend.
Yeah.
So they're around all these older white people. And something happens, and Chris is okay. Well, actually, something really pivotal happens. Actually, two really pivotal interactions happened.
Okay,
the first one was Georgina when she came in to apologize for unplugging his phone and then not plugging it back in for some whatever stupid reason she gave that he decided to accept her apology. He was just like he said something to her like, "Oh, I just I get a little nervous when they're tuning white people around."
Yeah, okay.
And then her reaction to that was so like. She got her facial expression and then the tear that rolled down her face, and then she pulled it back in and was just like, no.
I remember thinking at that moment. I don't know who that woman is, but she is an incredible actress.
Yeah,
because her face simultaneously got this false happiness in it, while a tear ran down her eye. I was that's hard. I don't know. I'm not acting, but I'm sure that's hard to do probably.
Yeah, it was definitely. It was an extreme close up on her face, so she definitely had to like sell that scene. That was her biggest like scene. So there was that, and then they went downstairs, and there was the guy who had been kidnapped in the first scene reappears all of a sudden. Of course, so Chris is just like, who's this guy who's with this other woman who's just this white woman like twice his age,
but who was plump, pleasantly plump.
Yeah, but not bad looking.
That's what I thought too. I was like, well, I don't see. Now again, had they not been horrible monsters, I would not have thought that. Yeah, well,
I would have found that strange, but
no, I would have found it curious, but in the porn world, that's quite normal.
Yes, because the porn world is so reflective of the real
Yes,
world.
it is. Let's move on.
It is not.
Okay, I beg to differ. Let's go on.
I would debate you on this, but I expect you don't really want to have that conversation.
No, what I mean, I don't mean is what I mean is of the subconscious. I don't mean of the I don't mean that pizza boys really will bang you, but I think that a lot of the tropes that appear in porn just reflect the dark undercurrents of society because they're very specific to different cultures. Not all cultures have that trope of older overweight black women with younger black men. That's a very common trope in America. You go to that's not a trope in Japan. Older Japanese women banging younger Japanese men, not a trope. Whereas people peeing on each other, not a big trope of American porn, big trope in German and Japanese porn. I'm just pointing out that because these things are they reflect a dark undercurrent of the culture. I'm not saying that they actually that what happens to them is actually for real life. I'm just reflecting perverse things like where that is a well defined. What's the word? A sexual trope of American culture. Right.
Okay. Alrighty. So there was that. So that guy. So Chris is like also tries to make a connection with him, and it doesn't quite work because this guy is basically spaced out. So
we you see. We don't have to because there's so much. Things get very complicated after this point. So we might want to jump.
Okay, jumping ahead.
No, not jumping ahead. Just kind of cover it. Basically, there's a party. Chris gets uncomfortable. Chris has the argument with his from the one way she tries to gaslight him. Then he goes downstairs again. He goes out and meets this blind guy who happens to be a big art dealer. Chris happens to be a photographer. Mm-hmm. And then there's a scene where the other black guy has a seizure, and then.
Quote unquote has a seizure. And then Chris and Rose go for a walk down by the lake, and Chris is like, basically at this point he just wants to go home, and Rose is like, oh you want to go?
She again does the classic girlfriend thing where you want to go, whatever, and then he says yes, and then she
does the thing where she turns around, withholds affection.
What do you mean? Because she agreed to go.
No,
he won that argument.
She agreed to go after, but they had that whole conversation first. So the first thing she does is, "Oh, you want to go?" And then she and I think she said without me, or
without me, yes.
And then she turns around and starts looking at the lake. So she turns her back on him.
Okay, I guess the thing is, isn't that somewhat normal?
I'm just saying as I say,
it is entirely manipulative. I'm not saying it's not, but I'm also saying that is generally normal. That's the way those arguments usually go.
But the thing is, I don't even the way she took it. I feel like she took everything that he said and she found a way to make it seem ridiculous to him. She found a way. That was just for me. It was just another example of her not seeing his feelings or invalidating his feelings.
I guess the reason I don't because her character, and again we went through because that was a part of the film. It's a race relationships. Part of her character's the problem with not the problem, but part of her character's impetus was that as a white person. There are a lot of things to experience. She has no way of experiencing them. She is white. They're in the midst of all these white people. Probably, again, if they were horrible monsters, people that she's probably known all of her life. Not a big deal for her. Doesn't really seem didn't really. And that's part of the where I say you have to be willful, where you cannot be very empathetic. By the way, that's also something that I don't necessarily see the big deal because again. I wonder if she had gone to a party where there were only black people, whether she expressed the fact that I'm a little bit uncomfortable, how he would have taken it. That if he had not been empathetic, whatever, which he probably was, he might have been more empathetic. He definitely was more intelligent than she was. I'm not saying in real life, just a character in the movie, whatever. And because he was more intelligent, he was a really smart guy. That what do you call it? That he might have. Wait, what are you uncomfortable because you're a bunch of black people, whatever. That's a common thing where people. Where I've never understood why people get upset if you are the only person in a group of people and you express some nervousness about that, and especially if you're around your own people, and the person who's not a member of that, who didn't grow up around these people, expresses nervousness. And you're like whatever. You're like, well, why do you feel nervous? I feel nervous because this is not my group of people, and that goes both ways. By the way, I've seen it happen both ways, where a black person will bring a white person to a group of black people, and then get upset. The white person gets nervous. Yes, they're nervous. They're not because they're not in their cultural background. That's number one. Number two, her throughout the movie, she was what I would the classic spoiled girlfriend. I want my way. I want to get my way all the time. And I'll use anything. If you're a nice guy, whatever, or a nice person, whatever. That's the standard way to get over you. You just express the fact you want something, and then you just basically pout until you get it, whatever. Which is what she was doing. But I would have expected her to win that argument and him not go. That surprised me. In real life, she would have won that argument. She would have convinced him to stay. Yeah, that's the way. That's the way that usually goes in that whatever. You want to go? You want to break my parents? Why? Why do you want to go? Because you make my parents feel so bad. Well, you don't like my parents? What's wrong? They're trying to be so nice to you.
Except at that point, she'd already admitted that she knew that this was a very awkward situation because her parents were being weird, her brother was being weird, and she'd already seen every party guest be weird with him. So
again, picking the girl. Yeah, but so. Yeah, but so just stay for the night. We're leaving tomorrow. You can't stay for me. This is really important to me, Chris. I can't believe you want to leave me behind and go back and leave me here by myself. Like I came here. I feel you know how big this was for me. I want you to meet my parents, and yes, they are feeling bad. They are feeling bad. But you remember when I took you when I went to that party with your friends and I felt uncomfortable. Whatever, and now you don't want to stay just for one night. You guys stay for one night. I hardly ever see my parents. Whatever, and now you want me to go home just because you feel they're not being mean to you. You just because you feel uncomfortable. You're reading things wrong because Georgina didn't unplug your phone because you believe you have this weird behavior. Whatever. It's like so that means we can't get married. I can't be around my parents ever again. Whatever. Well, if you want to go, then go. And that would have been the end of that.
Yep.
He would have folded.
Well, he folded anyway. But...
Well, no, he didn't. He didn't fold.
Yeah, he did because he said he wasn't going to leave without her.
Yeah, without her, but they were going to leave.
Well, yeah. After he said that he wasn't going to leave without her, and then then she was like, "Oh, thank goodness." So then we can go.
Yes,
but he folded.
I think he always was going to go, but as I've already said, that was not an argument that he was going to win. That's not an argument that you typically win. That you don't typically win those arguments as the guy. You don't. You don't. Sorry, you don't. You can't go around your girlfriend's parents and then why are you dating her? We talked about that briefly at the beginning of this. When you're dating somebody, especially if you're dating a girl, especially as a guy, you're not just dating her. You're usually people love their parents. So you can't. It's very difficult for you to date the person and then hate their parents overtly because you're going to meet them for the if you marry for the rest of your life. You can't keep calling her mother a bitch or whatever in front of her and think she's going to like you whatever. So you kind of have to put up with some stuff. That's part of the price you have to pay for being with people.
Some stuff, but not this stuff.
What's that?
Some stuff, but not this stuff.
But again, remember I said at the beginning of this movie that my emotions would be very different. To me, this was it, again. Had they not been horrible monsters, this was
had it not been a mother who would mentally manipulate you by hypnotizing you without your consent.
As I said. I would have.
Had it not been a brother who would try to choke you out at the dinner table.
Yes, but he stopped him. Whatever. Again, you say, as I said, again, first of all, everything about that whole thing is if you were by that point, if you're with this she's a product of that family. Okay, so if you're with this person and you're there with her, that's on you. That people are usually products of their family. So. Remember, I think I mentioned in the podcast that as a guy, you don't have the luxury of going, well, the world. I could blame the world for my problems. If I'm there with her, that's me. I chose to date her, and I didn't have to. Even as the other guy said, remember I told you you didn't have to go there. Remember I told you not to go there. You put yourself in that situation. That's number one. Number two is whatever. there, I was expecting worse things to happen. I was expecting that for like the father to give me a speech about you're an N-word, whatever, dating my daughter, and it's never going to happen, whatever, that kind of stuff. Do you think you do? I expected that. I expect the brother to make more overtly racist statements at the table.
Why did you expect that?
Because they're I am sorry, they're whatever. That's the.
But they don't think of themselves as racist. That would be the racist thing to do. They don't think of themselves as racist.
See, whether they do or not, my point is that, remember I said at the beginning that a lot of to me, I judge racism. To me, only a few people are really overtly racist. But a lot of people, and I don't regard ignorance as racism. I don't regard somebody. I don't judge somebody like if a black mother doesn't want her son dating white women. I don't regard that as racist. You know, I don't. That's just normal. That's a parent. As a parent, you want your children to marry people who look like you. That's just the way it is. Other people would judge that as racist. I don't. I also don't think that if you didn't grow up, that most people grew up cocooned in their own cultures. So when they're around other cultures, whatever, it's very easy to make little slip ups or whatever, that whatever that maybe they don't see as racist, but that maybe are very much racist. Like oh, you're very articulate. That's the famous one. You speak very articulately. People regard that as racist, and it is racist because why would you think this person doesn't know how to think? You know, I get it because if I go around with people and I say I'm an engineer, what kind of engineer? Where'd you go to school? They always dig down and question it. Question more because they don't mean a lot. And I always assume I asked them. I'm probably the only black engineer you've ever met. Whatever. Conversely, and here's where the tipping point difference comes with me with a lot of other people comes African Americans that I get the same thing with black people. When they're around, they see a white person, they will just immediately assume that person is that everything's coming out is overtly racist. That they're privileged, they're racist, whatever, and that they should think that those people should be intimately concerned with their problems. They should know the history. They'll say, "Oh well, how could you not know that it's Black History Month or that this happened, whatever?" And okay, that's fine. What do you know about what Italian? What do you know about Italian or Chinese culture or Chinese culture, for example? Do you know anything about Chinese culture? Well, no. Then why would you expect them to know about yours? Why do you expect them to have invested all this time to know about your culture when you have obviously know nothing about theirs? You don't know. You're both ignorant. The way I look at it, and again. That to me, that's meeting the parents is one of the difficult things in a relationship. The people's families are often, I don't expect or require parents to like me. I expect they're not going to like me. They're not supposed to like me. They're supposed to put me through a whole bunch of stuff. Now, not hypnotizing me and stuff like that. I don't expect that. But that's just and again. As I said, her manipulative. Chris was a little bit submissive. That's why I put it. To me, the very first moment she was talking to him like a child. To me, it didn't surprise me that later when he told her that because she was condescending from the beginning. Asking a grown man about how he's packing to me, that's just, what are you talking about? Either pack it for me or leave me alone. It's like I know how to pack. I've been places without you. You're not my mom. Did you bring your socks? We're both adults. I know what I'm doing. It's like, what are you talking to? You're talking to me like a child.
That sounds like a you thing.
Was it?
That sounds like a you thing.
It's very much a me thing, but at the same time, I definitely am not the only guy. And various women of various people. I've dated people who have been like that with Rose, and who haven't been like that, who just we pack together. We pack together. Or they help me pack. It was just much more fun. So I've seen where people don't do that. Where they why should I need to tell you that? We talk to me as if we're both adults. Not as if you're talking to me as a child. We're both adults here. Whatever. There's a way to tell me. Don't forget my socks without making me look like a child. Did you forget your socks? No. Either what's up? But make sure you bring extra socks, whatever. That's a much easier way of putting that, whatever. It's just a way she had of thinking, whatever. And he didn't seem to be bothered by it. So okay, well, dude, it's like you dated her. It's like I didn't date that woman, That's why when you found out later, it's like, yeah, that was a surprise that you this is the woman you went to. This is the woman who took you to see her parents. She hasn't told them that you're black. Of course, she's gonna hypnotize you and do terrible things to you. I'm sorry.
That doesn't follow.
Why doesn't that follow?
Why would it follow just because they didn't mention that
because it's my point is that because it's a sign to me, that's a sign that she is not treating him like a equal person. She's not empathizing with this situation. To me, that's why it came up in the first time in the movie. By doing that, it shows me that she doesn't think of him as an equal person to her. She thinks of it as an inferior person. She's in a position of superior, and that's part of the relationship. She's superior over him. He's somebody he needs to be protected, right, whatever. Protected. He's like a little puppy, a little project.
Well, I mean, that could stem from his mother issues. So
no, I'm talking about her relationship.
I know, but what I'm saying is, like, so we were talking a while ago about that.
I'm not blaming him. I'm saying that that's the way it was.
I know, but what I'm saying is, we were talking a while ago about that show with Shan Boody where she Your Perfect Date, where she would go out with all these guys and like figure out like how to approach them. So like if Shan Boody in that situation realized that this guy had a mother, didn't really have much of a home life, his mother died when he was 11, she might have taken that same sort of maternal kind of caretaking. You don't have to think about this aspect, because that would be the better way to get to get into his heart.
Yes. So but the price, that absolutely 100% true. But I'm just saying the price to that is this, once you, because it's not just one thing. If they really are your parent, they're your parent. It's not just one thing. You don't always like your parent. So if once that's established relationship, and again, I feel that we're redundant by saying this. I think had they not been horrible monsters, that relationship could have worked.
I think they would have broken up at the end of the weekend.
Okay, I don't think so.
I think they would have broken up. Like, had they not been Harbor Monsters, I think that relationship would have been over the minute they got back to the city.
Why?
Because there's other stuff coming up too. I'm just saying.
Well, I said remove the monster stuff. Just no. Sorry. Interesting, because that's part of the movie. We're running out of time, whatever. That's part of the movie, because it is a movie about relationships, race relationships, whatever. And to me, what made the movie horrible, so brilliant, was the fact that is probably the way a lot of relationships are. A lot of people are clueless about things like that. That's the stereotypical white people, that they're clueless about these things. They're living their own little world.
But I'm not even talking about the race stuff. I'm just talking about the basic stuff of I don't know, just as I said, the way the manipulative way that she behaved towards them. I just think that that weekend kind of brought that into a certain amount of relief for him. And I just don't think the relationship would have survived.
We're talking about movie characters, whatever. So this thing, but again, see the thing, the reason that I don't think it would have is because the thing that happened in the beginning of the movie was so that, to me, that was so that if she could do that, and he still, that didn't seem to bother him that much. I think she could. The thing, nothing that happened else. I know for you the advertising thing was a big deal, whatever, all that kind of stuff. Nothing that remove the monsters that happened in the movie and just make it a movie about a whole bunch of awkward white people and feeling uncomfortable because somebody unplugged your phone, okay, and then maybe some condescending behavior. I just gotta say that they're just that if overlooking that first thing. The other things pale in comparison. Because that to me that shows exactly what she was. So if you
I didn't have that same response to that scene, so I can't really relate to your
No, I'm not talking about the package. I'm talking about not telling your parents that I'm black. That to me is that was the big thing.
Okay.
You're not going to tell your parents that I'm. Why didn't you tell them that I'm black? Why wouldn't you tell them? That's so basic. I am black. We live in New York.
Okay.
Why didn't you tell them?
All right. So I'm going to skip past that.
Okay. Yeah.
And because you brought up something else that I kind of wanted to touch on, which is the notion. So basically, we skip ahead. We find out that basically what these people are doing is they're people who.
It's hard to explain. They're just,
but basically, what it turns out is there's two people who are willing to live in these black bodies for the rest of their lives. Because, they're implanting part of their brains into the bodies.
Yeah.
So they're maintaining consciousness. The black person is still in there, but they're like a passenger in their own body.
Yeah.
So I had two questions about that. First question was, okay, so...
No, it's not possible in real life to do that.
The first question was, is if the black person could they be rescued?
No.
And I think they could because they're still living in there. They're just hypnotized.
Their brain...
They're just hypnotized, though.
No, there's a physical part. Do we need to go back to remember that scene?
I'm just saying they wouldn't have done the hypnotism in the first place.
Lobotomy.
But they're still in there.
No. What I mean is that there is I understand that there is a physical part that happens. Remember?
There is a physical part that happens. I'm aware of that, but
they showed the girl at the end. They showed her head has a scar on it.
Yes, I know. Everyone had a scar.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, yes, there was a physical part that happened, but also, yes, the other person, the person who originally inhabited that party, is still in there.
But
we know that because of how.
They tried to come forward,
and how they in some cases succeeded in coming forward. So now I'm wondering
a little bit,
and so it kind of reminded me of this notion of double consciousness, which I forgot to look up, but I'm looking up now on which I don't know exactly what it means, but as I thought about the question of whether or not they could be rescued, because it seems like they were hypnotized, they were put into the sunken place, and then this other person got to be dominant in the body.
But see, I would agree with everything you said, except for the fact that there's a physical part to it.
I know,
right? If it was purely hypnotism, I would agree with you. 100%.
I know, but what I'm saying, I'm not saying that you could remove it. I'm saying, could you hypnotize? So the white person is dominant in the body. Could you hypnotize the white person and bring the black person back to the fore? Because the black person is still in there.
I would see. The thing is, I would say that as the blind guy said, you're stunted, because remember he said we remove the part of you that we remove your ambulatory system. Remember he said that we remove that. That's the part they cut out. Which remember because you probably had your eyes closed, as did I, whatever. But through my quivering fingers, I could see that they were performing a lobotomy. They cut out the brain of the white guy, whatever. They threw away part of it. So I'm sure they were going to put part of it into the black guy. I'm sure that if the black guy got in, they would have done the same thing. They would cut out his part of it and thrown part of it away. So without that part of his brain, whatever, I don't think they could have ever come back. It's not a matter of hypnotism was just.
But the fact that the fact that they were able to come back for certain moments kind of belies that.
But no, what I mean is that it's like a person with Alzheimer's, where you can occasionally have periods of lucidity, but as far as coherent for a long period of time, because First of all, you'd have to cut out the white.
Well, no. Let's say that doesn't happen. Let's say you try to do it purely through hypnosis or whatever.
Okay. Well, obviously, it's an unanswerable question. You could be right.
So,
whatever. All I'm just going to say is that I don't see the hypnotism as being to me because if it was that, then there would be no need for the medical part of it.
Well, of course there would, because where would the white person's consciousness? How would you insert the white person's consciousness if not for that brain surgery?
So that's what I mean. Now I thought the TSA agent had the right thing at the beginning. What do you say? They're just creating sex slaves. I had not added the part where the white person was inside them. Okay, until when we found that out later. I thought it was just a matter of because I was wondering when the couple, the black guy, the white woman. That means that was her husband. Whatever, her husband was inside him. Mm-hmm. Okay, so she wasn't lobotomized. Her husband had been lobotomized and put inside the guy. Right. Mm-hmm. So what do you call it? So they've gone through this operation, and while they can experience some moments of memory and lucidity and whatever, and when they're trying desperately to come back. But at the end, because their entire whatever's controlling them has been removed and as the blind guy said, and replaced with the white person's thing. So how would they subvert the. It seems like you only have one driver. There's only one driver. So how would you stop the driver? The passenger can occasionally reach over and bang the passenger, the driver. But if he doesn't know how to drive, then they can do.
I don't know.
Okay, well,
so that was my one question. Well, that was one question.
Okay.
The other question, it was interesting to me that it was interesting to me that these people were willing to live out their lives in black bodies.
Why?
It's because it was. Why are you asking me why it was interesting? I'm saying it's interesting because it was.
No, what I mean is, okay, let me put it a different way. When the reviews I read the movie, a large part of it was superiority.
Yeah,
it was that white people
Yes.
are willing to do black things as long as they are in a position of power.
But the funny thing to me about that was, so they're in a position of power only as long as they stay within their bubble. The minute they get out into the world, they're not going to be seen as a white person. They're not going to be acknowledged as a white person. They're going to be seen as a standard black person.
Which is, see, that's even further Kian's thing because again they never intended to leave there. To me it's a metaphor for white society where you're living in this cocoon. And where you can maintain all these illusionary, where this is not wrong, this is not evil. It's not evil that we hypnotize into these people. These people. Remember the guy. You might enjoy it. You might come to enjoy it. Remember that's what he said. You might come to. Remember the guy, the grandfather. He said you might come to enjoy it. So you can maintain this illusionary fantasy world that everything is cool, whatever, and we're actually helping you. You obviously don't your life. You're just what are you? You're some kind of crack smoking monkey, whatever. With us, you'll be able to live out your life. I mean, he didn't say this, but that was the impression he was giving, whatever. And that's a metaphor for a lot of like why are you unhappy? Why if you let's say a black guy goes to Harvard, whatever, and he feels uncomfortable, whatever. Why are you unhappy? You're at Harvard. You're among good people here. Everything is cool, whatever. Or why would you? Why do you? I don't understand why you feel uncomfortable. Why do you feel uncomfortable in this situation? I'm happy. Everybody around is we're nice people. We're asking you. I would have voted for Obama 3 times. We're not racist people. You're among the good guys. You're one of us, and we now can ask you nice questions about your culture, whatever. You're exotic person, whatever, and whatever. I remember they were saying like he was saying. Remember he said black skin is now in vogue, which was a play on tanning, whatever.
Right.
Where whatever it's like where these people or appropriating people's cultures, whatever. Well, yeah, you're appropriated as long as you don't have to live the actual. Like it's funny the car that picked up the guy at the beginning. I don't know. I assume that was rap. He was being played in the
in the very first scene.
Yes.
No, it was some sort of old timey song.
No. When he first wrote, remember he turned. That was the thing. That's the thing when it started to get frightening, because when he rolled up, it was rap, and then when he stopped the car, he changed the music. And that's what the guy. Okay, we have to watch it again.
I missed that.
Because when he rolled up, I said, "Oh yeah, this is gonna be some white kids playing rap music, but then beating him up." I thought that's what they were going with that one, where white people they're playing the Wu-Tang Clan, but they're gonna beat up this black guy they see, whatever.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't.
I don't know what Wu-Tang Clan, but I remember it was with some rap. But then when he changed it, I was like, oh, this is not good. Oh, that was because I don't understand how because he didn't hear obviously the movie. He didn't hear the door open. Gotta get out, and I hate that in movies. Where they do the thing where they follow the view of the person in the shot, but then out of the shot there's something's happening that you obviously didn't see. Then they come out of nowhere. Oh God, I hate that. Yeah.
And there was a lot of that in this film.
Yeah.
So,
great movie though. So.
Yeah. So we've talked about this movie now for about an hour and 45 minutes,
we can stop.
Well, no, I mean it's fine.
I gotta go. So
yeah. So obviously. There was some swearing in this podcast, so
there was.
Well, you said a couple of swear words.
I did.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'm not judging you. I'm just saying. So we probably need to do a separate recording for introducing all the innocent things like the goat and etc.
Okay. Wait a minute. Are you saying that the goat will be offended by my language?
No, I'm just saying I don't want to associate the goat with this kind of language.
That is goats. I can assure the goat doesn't. The goat's probably.
If we were talking about chickens, your prejudice would
no,
make more sense.
goats are just as bad.
No. Don't malign my goat.
Oh God.
But listen, the goats are special to me. You can have your chicken hatred all you want, but don't. I'm drawing the line at goats. You leave my goat alone. So. What?
I have no comment.
You obviously have a comment. It's written on your face.
Well, I'm not going to make that comment.
Alrighty then. Yeah. Well, now you're just being passive aggressive.
I'm not going to comment. Okay. What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? I'm not going to make the comment. You obviously have some natural love for this goat, which I acknowledge and I'm going to respect.
Okay. Yeah. It's a very cute goat.
It is a cute goat.
Okay. So this was our very long and completely unintelligible.
No, it wasn't. I don't think it was. I just agree.
Well, as I envisioned this talk, I thought we were going to go through chronologically, and that didn't quite work out. We kind of jumped around.
It's too complicated.
Yeah, and there's a lot. But so.
Well, by the way, we didn't really spoil it. We didn't really reveal. We don't have to do it. But we didn't really reveal much, because it is so bizarre that you really do have to see it. There's no way we can describe it.
Yeah, you should still watch it. Yeah. Just for the laughs. You should watch it for the dog. The dog is super cute. Yes, you should watch it for Rod. He was also super cute.
And Max is in the movie too.
Max. Yeah. Eric Alexander also as a moment.
That was one of my. Come on, how can you say that wasn't comedy? That was an awesome scene.
Yeah, that was funny. Yes. I'm just saying, I just thought maybe there was more comedy that I hadn't noticed. Because, sometimes there are things that I like there are times when I'm watching a TV show and I'm sitting there watching it and I'm like, oh yeah, this is funny. But I'm not like laughing or anything. I'm just like, oh yeah, I can see how people would find that amusing. And so I just wanted to make sure that I was in sync with the common run of humanity.
That scene was funny.
Yeah. So yes, I mean I've seen it twice, so obviously, seeing it a second time, I wasn't at all bothered by not being already being completely aware of what was going to happen, and I still was scared at the same parts because it's a very well made film.
But I was about to say that it wasn't, but it really is. It really is scary. It's not super. I mean, I've seen scarier movies, like the movie Mother, the split camera thing out where this weird thing happens in the background. I hate, which I hate in movies, whatever. That's horror, whatever. This is only one couple of seasons, but as far as horror, and again, as I said, the horror. I think the horror. People could go down different paths of the horror. I think if you're somebody who is much more affected by some of the divisions between races in the culture, you would see it. Like I think my fiance would see it and see would see a totally different movie. Besides the horror, she would definitely see all the things that were mentioned in the article that I didn't see. She would definitely be very much bothered by it. She would have been bothered by Rose with the white girl thing from even before that. So yeah.
Yeah, so there are definitely layers, and of course everyone brings their own perspective to what they're viewing. Mm-hmm. But obviously we enjoyed it.
Yes, I did.
And I am happy to evangelize for it. Evangelize, is that the right?
Yeah, I think it's
yes. Mm-hmm. So I feel like we've pretty much chewed up the meat, and it's now ready to be swallowed.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's a good movie.
Right, yes. All right, so that I think we'll call this a day then.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for listening. If you actually got to that entire thing, I'm kind of surprised. Feel free to send us an email and let us know what you think. velvet.ramble.podcast@gmail.com.
Okay.
And with that said, I am the Velvet Fist.
And I'm Professor Ramble.
And peace out.
You gonna play the song?
No, I'm gonna put that in.
It's the Velvet Ramble Podcast. It's the Velvet Ramble Podcast. It's the Velvet Ramble Podcast.